Hello and welcome back, everybody. We are once again live here with Torque Racing on Assetto Corsa competition, coming to you from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway this week for round number 2 of season 3 here. And a good one getting underway here with qualifying just starting as we speak, and a little bit of a change up, something that we're still working on refining with Torque Racing, and we've seen from the admin group. They are working on refining qualifying here to make it a little less chaotic and hectic so that there's cleaner laps and opportunity for every driver group to be able to have a open track. That way it's a little more competitive and a little more fair across the board. With that said, though, for tonight here at Indianapolis, we get underway for about 16 minutes of qualifying, 8 minutes for the amateur and pro-am class, and then 8 minutes for the pro class. So leading us out into the circuit for the first time here in qualifying is the AM and pro-am drivers. Just in case there's any issues here, give me just a second to reset the video card. Go. And we will take a look and see what qualifying looks like here. And it looks like leading us out right now is the 24 BMW of Red Baron. Red Baron had a bit of a hectic race last week at Bathurst, as did many drivers. There were several drivers which didn't even finish the race, and several that were also not even really past the first couple of laps before having to retire due to incidents. So hopefully not quite the same. Bathurst, a very challenging circuit in comparison to what we're going to see here tonight in Indianapolis. Still a challenging circuit in its own regard. A little bit of a dated layout as well, unfortunately. This particular layout not really heavily utilized. A modified version of the motorcycle circuit here. One of the big changes is at turn 13 and 14. Motorcycles have a loop that kind of goes back towards turn 10 and then comes back around. That is gone here, but 15 turns in total for this layout. As you'll see, Red Baron come into turn number 1 here. Just over 13 and a half minutes still to go in qualifying. So drivers here that you're seeing on circuit again, if you're just trickling in, will start to go into pit lane. About 8 minutes to go in the session. That's the timer on the top left there. Be interesting to see what these lap times look like here under qualifying and race conditions. Practice was a little bit chaotic with all drivers here kind of just trying to get those last few minutes of practice in before the race starts. One of the things that I've always really enjoyed with the road course here at Indy, since we've seen kind of this rendition mashup, is really that interior infield straightaway. In this layout, that's between turns 7 and 8. Brings in a good challenge so that you can pick up some pace here as a driver, and it's a great overtaking opportunity into a late braking turn 8. So don't be surprised if we see some overtaking on that straight and leading into turn 8 tonight. Another big opportunity is one that's going to be easy to kind of overlook. Turn number 5 and 6, and you will see the 323 on the map there on the left getting ready to go into that. Seth, welcome in, buddy. Yeah, we'll see about how that works out for you. So, Red Baron takes over preliminary pole for a brief moment, but it looks like CCW Aviator has taken it over, and now Bogey-Eyed Flea is taking it over. So some shuffling around here already. Red Baron's fast lap, a 138.360. Matty Ice taking over P2 in that 92 Lexus at the moment, a 137.415 for him. Let's see if we can find Bogey. There he is, a 137.415, your current preliminary pole sitter. Again, only for the AM and Pro-Am drivers. Specifically, the Pro-Am drivers indicated by that silver or gray background on the driver numbers on the lower left leaderboard next to the manufacturers. The amateurs indicated by the red, and then the pro drivers, as you see, Snakebite stationary and pit lane, indicated with the white background. We do only have 2 amateur drivers left on the entire grid here for Season 3. And actually, as I say that, it looks like we've had Atomic Hippo return to the amateur class. So 3 drivers here tonight. That 999 Porsche of Atomic Hippo, currently P11, a 139.907. He's going to have to try and pick up the pace here a little bit through the exit of the infield section, coming back out onto the oval here through turn 12. And the Pro-Am and Am drivers coming up to the final 2 minutes of their allotted time here. So we'll see that transition begin here in just a little over 2 minutes. And out of the final turn 15, Atomic Hippo has picked up his pace a little over 1.1 second, losing a little bit of it. And he will hold on to 11th, but improves the lap time to a 138.855 and immediately gets bumped to 12th by Seta 509. Number 12 Porsche will take over 11th here. Yeah, it looks like we may have an issue here at turn 14. That is the 188 of the Natural, having some troubles there. He's back underway now. Kangaroo. Yeah, that would have been last week in Bathurst in New South Wales, so luckily not an issue. Natural back underway. His fast lap currently a 137.587, puts him 4th quickest in the Am Pro-Am group here, so we'll see how long that holds up, and we are closing in on the final 60 seconds of the first qualifying session. Or I should say of the first qualifying group. And since Itiga holding on to P10 at the moment in that 323 McLaren, he is looking at a 138.255 for his fast lap. We are encroaching on the final 30 seconds. Group 1. It looks like the Natural is going to reset to pit lane, so that will do it for him in qualifying. And the 98 Mustang of Bila Grill holding on to 21st overall in the group here. He's going to come across the line with what will likely be his one and only flying lap attempt here. And he's credited with a 155 flat. Moose. Yeah, you'd probably be looking more at like a deer or maybe an elk, possibly in Indiana. And the pro drivers now slowly trickling out onto circuit here to get underway for their 8 minutes of allotted time. So all drivers in the Am and Pro-Am coming back into pit lane here officially. An elf? I mean an elk. That's what I said, was an elk, sir. Elk or a deer? And looks like Aviator's going to try and sneak one in here if he can. And he will come out of turn 15. He's almost a full second up, currently in 10th here. And he does improve the lap time, but it does not count. A 137.217 goes the way of the dodo, if you will. Does not come to fruition. Does not count. So that 138.147 will be his official fast lap here in qualifying because of the time constraints. Looks like Matty Ice resetting back to pit lane now as well. Meanwhile, the 71 Mustang of Bubblin' Panda, who we saw have a very good race last week in Bathurst, continuing his success from Season 2, dominating by the race end of the 45 minutes of Bathurst, will start his first flying lap here. Let's see what he has in store for the pro class drivers. Like Bila Grill has not returned to pit lane yet. He is going through turn 5 as we speak, so he's got a couple corners between him and the pro drivers. That could be something to pay attention to here from the admins and stewards. He was supposed to return to pit lane over 2 minutes ago. Exiting onto the interior straight section out of turn 7. It's Finley just in tow, a little over a second behind. Finley could potentially make advantage with that thanks to the slipstream. Looks like Biligrill has dropped his pace a bit here. He's just exiting turn 12 as Bubble and Panda was entering turn 11. And there he goes. Looks like he went off at turn 13, but resets to pit lane officially. So that will do it for Biligrill. Bubble and Panda has clear track ahead. Now through turn 14. One more to go for the first flying lap here. We'll see if Maxi Luca can improve after last week. A good performance in qualifying from him. Once again, after a strong showing in Season 2. And Bubble and Panda will take over pole at the moment. A 136.315. A 136.717 to It's Finley behind. And a 136.632 to Sucka 509 will bump Finley to third. And Oil Slick does not get a clean lap in here. It looks like a 138.822, his fastest. So right now he is very deep in the field as far as starting position and goes off there and invalidating the lap. Just over 4 minutes to go here. He still has time to improve and get that clean lap in. If he can't get a clean lap in, we could see him start towards the rear of the grid tonight. He has picked up his pace here, almost a full second now, just over 8 tenths and closing in on 8.5 tenths as I say that. And it looks like Bubble and Panda right about the same pace as his last lap, a little bit of improvement, about 8 thousandths of a second. Now picking up the pace coming into turn 13. Looks like he's found some pace here and maybe a better line, but now losing it in turn 14. And losing a bit more pace through turn 15. We'll see if he can improve it all. He is very close to a consistent lap time there. And a 136.360. So about 4.5 hundredths off the previous lap's pace. Sucka 509 has officially been bumped to third now. Bubble and Panda has taken over P2 and been bumped off of pole position by Maxi Luca. You can find Maxi here on the leaderboard officially. We'll highlight him. There he is in the 65 Porsche. So Maxi Luca, who has had a dominating performance since joining in Season 2 in qualifying, continues that here. A 135.660, his current fast lap and your pole time at the moment. We are closing in on the final 2 minutes of qualifying here. Looks like Maxi Luca finding a little bit of pace as he comes up to turn number 8. And finds a little bit more, now 2 tenths up on his lap time, and starting to close in on 3 tenths here slowly as he comes out onto the oval. Turn 12 coming up to the braking zone of turn 13. A semi-decent line, but loses some time now. Now through turn 15, he's about even with his last lap here. Still holding on to that preliminary pole, and he will miss out on tying his lap by 2 thousandths of a second. So very consistent lap time still. And Snakebite in the 69 Ferrari has taken over P4 at the moment. Oil Slick now up to P8 in the 661 BMW. So Oil Slick manages to get a clean lap in. These will likely be the final laps that we see here in qualifying. Just 40 seconds remaining. And Oil Slick has pulled off, so he will not be able to improve from P8. See, Oil Slick sitting on pit lane here with under 30 seconds to go. Fast lap of a 1:37.070. And here comes Sucka 509 in the 34 Nissan. And he is 2.5 seconds off his pace as the timer will come up to 0 in just 5 seconds now. And it's Finley will go off into the grass here, so that will do it for him in qualifying. And the 69 Ferrari of Snakebite losing pace now, coming out of turn 15. We find the 65. There he is, Maxi Luca. Looks like Luca's going to improve here in a 1:35.405 will become your pole time. And that will do it for qualifying with that. Take a short 3-minute break here so that we go ad-free to the end of the 45-minute race plus the formation lap. Unless you're Twitch Turbo or subscriber, then you're ad-free as always. So with that, qualifying is in the books here. We'll see what we have in store this evening. Qualifying looking very quick for a number of these drivers. Maxi Luca gets all 3 sectors plus pole time. And it looks like Bubbling Panda will start in P2 in that 71 Mustang, a 1:35.775. So just over 2.5 tenths separating first and second here. Sucka 509 will start P3, a 1:36.327, so almost a full second separates pole from third. Snakebite will start in P4 with a 1:36.585, and it's Finley in the number 6 McLaren. Round out your top 5 here. And the big one that sticks out tonight here out of the pro drivers, Oil Slick, all the way back in P number 8, that 1:37.070. He has 2 pro am drivers of Bogey Eyed Flea and Kickin' Joe Mama ahead of him. And both Bogey Eyed Flea and Kickin' Joe Mama are not required to give way for him. So he will have to overtake them and race against them. Even though they are in a different driver tier than he is, he will still have to try and overtake both of them. So 21 drivers will start the race here officially tonight. We have just under a minute before the formation lap, and then 45 minutes of racing. And here comes the 30-second warning. And just like that, our formation lap will get underway here as soon as Maxi Luca pulls away. And there we go, Maxi Luca pulls away, so the field will follow suit. We will have one formation lap before green flag racing here at Indianapolis. And I believe the youngest driver on the entire grid in this group at just 23 years old. Maxi Luca will lead us through. And it looks like Wongit will stay in pit lane. So he will start from pit road if he decides to even come out. Let's double check. Did he actually even set? No, we can't double check until we go back, but we'll double check and see if he set a lap time at all. I don't believe I saw him on the board with a qualifying time. It's interesting, since Bila Grill is posted up behind him. We'll see what happens here once we come up to the green flag. The grid coming out of turn 7 and onto that interior straightaway. Again, here on the opening lap, really going to suggest we pay attention not only to just, obviously turns 1 and 2 because of the layout, but turn 5, 6, and 7, 8, 13. Those are really going to be the big ones to watch. 10 could also come into play depending on how much space is created here on the opening lap by the leaders. But turn 10 can be a little bit tricky as well, kind of coming out of a faster right-hand turn into a sharper left-hand turn. So it can be easy to overshoot the corner or misjudge it and carry too much momentum into it. We'll switch back to the garage view here so that we can switch through for any incidents a little bit more quickly. You have to wait for the grid to come to the lights out here. And a double file start coming your way here. Just over 2 corners time. Some pace issues here for Bubbling Panda and Maxi Luca. Kind of agreeing on who's going to lead this one, with Maxi Luca set for pole position here. And out of turn 15, the leaders come to the line 2 by 2. And we are officially green flag racing here in Indianapolis. Let's go back to this view here. See just the cluster of cars trying to make their way towards turn number 1. Oh, and we've already got carnage behind. There is a car heavy into the wall here. That is the 24 of Red Baron on the outside wall. And I missed the car on the inside wall. It looks like Aviator in the 55 Mercedes also having some troubles now. Meanwhile, back up front, Maxi Luca continues to lead this one at the moment over Bubbling Panda, Sucka 509 in 3rd, and Snakebite 63 in 4th. It's Finley holds on to 5th. Oil Slick still holding on to 8th, but overtaking now as it looks like the leaderboard is shuffling around here. Fortunately, this is not uncommon to see happen here. There we go. Things starting to sort themselves out. And through turn 9 into turn 10 comes your leader of Maxi Luca. 7/10 up on Bubbling Panda at the moment. And looks like I may have misspoke earlier. Oil Slick now showing in 17th. Oh, and Carnage here once again. And the natural in the 188 McLaren goes around and gets hit by Oil Slick. That's at turn 10. Just coming out of turn 10, heading towards turn 11. Maxi Luca will come to the end of lap number 1 and will get the record for leading that lap. Bubbling Panda P2, Sucka 509 still P4, Snakebite and It's Finley remain in 4th and 5th. We come back to turn 1 here. Meanwhile, in the background there, the 33 Mercedes of Kickin' Joe Mama is the furthest forward running for the Pro-Am drivers. And look at this, Azteca in the 169 Mustang, finding himself in P12 here. A very challenging race for him last week in Bathurst, finishing in P17, which was his best finish to date with Torque Racing, and only his 4th race with the group. We'll go back to trackside and eliminate the board here. Maxi Luca with the fast lap of the race at this point, a 1:39.167 for the opening lap, and already 2.5 seconds up on that lap time. For those of you that are unfamiliar or maybe new here with torque racing and wondering as well with Assetto Corso, number 1 in the gold box there to the right of the driver number on the leaderboard in the lower left is a mandatory pit stop. That will go away once they make the pit stop that's required at some point during this race. Doesn't matter when they make it, but they have to do it at least once. It has to be under green flag conditions and under power. They cannot get a tow back to pit lane and service the car to count for it. They can service the vehicle if they need to, but it will not count towards the mandatory pit stop requirement. And Succa 509 in the 34 Nissan will take over fast lap at the end of lap 2 here, 1:36.345. And starting to fade back on Maxi Luca just a little over a second behind, and half a second behind Bubble and Panda. And 2 seconds to It's Finley behind, so Finley's starting to fade away now. We are closing in on the first 5 minutes of this race being done already, and it looks like Bubble and Panda's going to have some trouble there. Goes wide at turn 7, and he will give up P2 as Succa 509 will take over now. Yeah, to Maxi Luca out front, 1.5 seconds almost, but now starting to close. As I say that, it now starts to grow to 1.5 and beyond. So Succa 509 and Bubble and Panda with a little bit of work ahead of them as Maxi Luca looks to open the gap here early. And you can see the 188 of the natural now sits in P20, about half a second behind Oil Slick in that 661 BMW. Oil Slick had a very difficult race last week, finishing multiple laps down due to several incidents, including one on the opening lap. It basically repeats that setup here today at Indianapolis, unfortunately. Hopefully things will turn around for him after round 2. See if he can make up any ground here. Still 39.5 minutes to go, so the first 5 minutes are in the books. See Red Baron in the 24 BMW here sitting in P16 after his incident, and that nose has some heavy damage there along with the hood. So when he comes in for a pit stop, don't be surprised if he's stationary for a bit longer than expected. As Tekka just ahead of him, holding on to P15 at the moment. Red Baron and Senna are right there waiting for him to make a mistake. He goes a little wide, and this is going to leave the door open for Red Baron coming out of turn 7 and onto the high-speed straight in the infield. And as Tekka off the racing surface there a bit on the outside. Oh, and maybe a little too much late brake, but he holds on to it, and he will hold on to P15 here. Red Baron still trying to stay competitive, though, even with the damage. Let's take a look back up front. It looks like Bubble and Panda has gotten back into P2. Succa 509 has dropped to P5. And the gap now, 3.5 seconds between second and third, but now a battle for third between It's Finley in the 6 McLaren and Snakebite 63 in the 69 Ferrari, and Succa 509 in the 34 Nissan. Looks like Finley going a little wide there. Snakebite wisely doesn't stick his nose in. Would have gotten crossed over there, it looks like. Now out of turn 7 onto that infield straight. Snakebite trying to pick up the pace here. as is Sucka 509, and a three-way battle for third place here. Let's see if we can find Bubbling Panda here real quick. Actually, Luca now leads. Oh, a little trouble there at turn 13. Goes out wide. The gap to Bubbling Panda, 2.5 seconds. Red Baron has come in for a pit stop now. That should be his mandatory, I believe. If he came in under his own power, don't believe he reset. And as I say that, the 55 has reset to pit lane, so he's going to get a tow back. It's going to be an added time here before he can leave pit lane. And actually, it looks like the 55 has decided to retire here. Checking on that battle for P3 here. Finley, Snakebite, and Sucka 509 still battling it out. And it looks like Kick and Joe Mama starting to kind of creep up here just a little bit. It's about a second behind Sucka 509 at the moment. Still watching this battle for third here. It's Finley still holding off Snakebite now coming out of turn 11. And they will come back onto the oval surface here. Question is, who will have the better high-end top speed between the McLaren and the Ferrari? Oh, and look at that dive to the inside. Snakebite will take over P3 with that move. So the 69 of Snakebite moves up a position, and it's Finley will now take advantage of the slipstream on the high-speed straight, the highest speed section of the entire circuit here, out of turn 15 to turn number 1. The gap just over a tenth, and it's Finley looked like he thought about going to the inside, but wisely backs out. Does get a little too much of that inside curb, but manages to maintain the pace here. See if we can find Sucka's POV here relatively quickly, hopefully. There he is, and we're going to go on board with him. Here, coming up to turn number 8. Oh, and it looks like both Snakebite and It's Finley dove a little too deep into that corner. Sucka could have taken a huge advantage there, and he's got a good run on Finley here, coming out of turn 11. And now through turn 13 and 14 they go. Oh, and Oil Slick has had some troubles here out of turn 7. That's your admin and league owner. See the nose damage still present for him. Currently scored an 18th. Meanwhile, checking in on the midfield, like Matty Ice in the 92 Lexus, about a second off of pace behind Comacopa at the moment. About a second ahead of Bilagrill in 12th, so a little bit of a gap forming up here, kind of in the midfield. But this Azteca has moved up to from 15th to 14th now. This battle for third place still happening. Now with the lap car just ahead of them, scored in 20th. That is Red Baron in the 24 BMW. Could make things a little bit challenging for overtaking. This could also give Snakebite a good advantage, because now he's got some slipstream ahead of him to take advantage of. But the question is, will Red Baron able to stay out of the way without holding him up too much? gap closing. Was 4/10 coming through turn 11, now 3/10. And onto the oval at 2/10. So looks like Red Baron's going to try and let him through, but Snakebite just doesn't have the momentum there. And a little tap from Snakebite. And now Sucka 509 has trouble. Oh, and that is going to be contact. That was It's Finley and Red Baron. The Red Baron will go around yet again, unfortunately, here, this time at the exit of turn 14. And Sucka 509 is stationary here out of turn 13, heading into turn 14, but now he's back underway. That 34 Nissan has some damage there on the nose. That happened in the background. Red Baron is now stationary. Looks like back underway officially. We can find him. Is Red Baron back underway here in turn 1, goes wide. Currently scored in 20th. That is the last place of the running cars. One driver's already retired here. Snakebite still holding on to P3 at the moment. It's Finley, the only one remaining of those original 3 battling for the position. Crazy Hank, welcome in. Yeah, you're correct. Technically, Red Baron should have yielded. He did give up some pace there. Just wasn't enough for Snakebite to make the overtake, unfortunately. He didn't really walk by any means, but he could have definitely done a better job of getting out of the way. Bubble and Panda now 2.5 seconds off the pace with Maxi Luca. So the gap just about 2.5 seconds between first and second at the moment. Isla Grill holding on to P11 just behind Bogey-Eyed Flea. Ooh, and I think there may have been a little bit of contact there. It looked like Isla Grill didn't quite get on the brakes as heavy as he thought. And it looks like any contact that may have occurred there was very minimal for the 98 and the 27. Meanwhile, Matty Ice just behind, watching it all unfold. The first 15 minutes of this race are now in the books officially. Omacopa holding on to 9th, kind of in no man's land here, just over a second behind Sensei Tiga, and about 2 seconds ahead of Bogey-Eyed Flea. So see how this one plays out for Comacopa. His second race with Torque Racing here so far. You can see some of the leftover mayhem there from the braking markers and makeshift barriers at turn 13. And looks like some troubles for the 169. Because Azteca, as he's dropped back to P17 now. I don't see any visible damage here on camera. The great shot. Don't see anything to the front, sides, or rear of that Mustang. So maybe just a little overcooking it through the corners there. Now he has about 4 seconds of gap to make up to Atomic Hippo, and Bongit is 25 seconds behind. And looks like Oil Slick has come in for his mandatory pit stop in P19. The 661 BMW will service the mandatory. And Maxi Luca now at 3 seconds ahead of Bubble and Panda. We are about 5 minutes away from halfway now. We are getting closer and closer to seeing more of these mandatory pit stops coming into play here. Who will try and go the furthest? Who's set up to go the furthest and make a late pit stop for maybe just tires? See some damage here to Senna 509 in that 12 Porsche. Nose a bit scraped up here as he comes onto the oval out of turn 12. Natural just behind in the 188, so Natural back on circuit here. There's a lot of scuff marks on the side of that number 12 as well. Neither driver has serviced their mandatory yet either, so strategy still at play here for both drivers. And the Natural with a 139.440 versus Senna's 140.570. So Natural lapping just over a second faster on that one. And a driver we haven't seen a lot of since lap 1 here, FHM J-Dog, the 85 Mercedes, trailing behind a fellow Mercedes driver, the 33 of Kick and Joe Mama, by just over 7.5 seconds, closing in on 8 seconds here. And you can see some scuffs on the lower aero lip there on the front of that Mercedes from the lap 1 incident for FHM J-Dog. And FHM J-Dog lapping about a second faster than Cool Whip behind in the 3 BMW. It's Finley sitting stationary on pit lane at the moment here, servicing his mandatory, and it looks like the 323 of Sensei Tiga has also come in for his mandatory. Oil Slick has rejoined the race here, currently scored in 19th, and more than likely several laps down at this point after the number of incidents he has been involved in. Unfortunately here, not the greatest race that we have seen, and definitely just in the wrong place at the wrong time. Red Baron still holding up on P20 now, and still some damage visible here on the front of the car. Sucka 509 there in the 34 Nissan just behind in 11th place. Fortunately, an ad is going to come into play if you're watching this live on Twitch here, so bear with me. Oh, and contact right there. That is Matty Ice getting turned. No, actually, I take that back. Matty Ice turns Copa. Roland Panda has come in to service his mandatory pit stop, and that contact could come back for review. 92 Porsche makes contact with the 72 Porsche at turn 13, and I'm not sure exactly what happened there. Looked like maybe Copa got a little heavier on the brakes than Matty Ice thought, but he gets turned pretty heavily there, and you could hear the contact pretty audibly too. And Maxi Luca holding on to the lead, now has an 18-second gap to Snakebite as Bubble and Panda has come in for his mandatory pit stop, as we have just under 23 minutes still to go. And there is the halfway on the timers. 22.5 minutes now. Just less than that now as we speak. Ad break comes to an end. Everybody's starting to cycle into pit lane, kind of as we expected here. Now the question becomes, when will Maxi Luca, Azteca, Bonget, and let's see, who else? Sucka 509, The Natural, Atomic Hippo, FHM J-Dog, Cool Whip, Bogey-Eyed Flea, Pilot Griddle, will all have to still make their mandatory, and the 92 of Matty Ice gets a drive-through for speeding on exit of pit lane. Find Matty Ice here real quick. There he is, coming into turn 6 here. 92 Lexus will have to drive through pit lane at pit lane speeds. Does not have to make a stop. Just drive down pit lane and onto the circuit without speeding on entry or exit. We'll see if Matty Ice comes in to service that penalty this time. He does have 3 laps to do it in. Currently scored in 17th. Since Itiga is about 6.5 seconds ahead of him in 16th. And he does come into pit lane. He's got to be careful here. Not the greatest camera angle, to say the least here. And looks like the number 3 BMW of Cool Whip is going to come in for his pit stop as well. And FHM J-Dog has come in for a pit stop. Meanwhile, Bogey-Eyed Flea will hold on to P3 in the 27 at the moment. Snakebite has moved into P2. And Maxi Lucas still holds on to the race lead. Snakebite just exiting turn 8 in 2nd place. Meanwhile, Maxi Luca just exited turn 13. And the 92 will get the drive-through cleared as Maxi Luca will come into pit lane from the lead now. Now the question becomes, does Snakebite stay out and inherit the lead? No, he's going to come in for a pit stop as well. Bogey-Eyed Flea still has the mandatory to serve. And we have just under 19 minutes to go. 27 come in or stay out, and he is going to come in as well. That puts Bubblin' Panda in prime position here to get back inside the top 3. He sits in 4th currently, coming into turn 8. In a 1:35.795, his fast lap and the fastest lap of the race to this point. Maxi Luca is already back underway, heading out of pit lane. And Bubblin' Panda is just exiting turn 12 as we speak. And Panda, about 1.2 seconds up on his fast lap here so far, so we could see a pretty good run. Pit lane is rather long here at Indianapolis. Link, welcome in, buddy. Thank you for the resub. Much appreciate that. Look at that, 18 months. Bubblin' Panda to the line will now move into 3rd and 2nd as Maxi Luca exits pit lane through turn 1. Now Senna will give way and let Panda through. The gap to Maxi Luca now 7.3 seconds, and closing. Maxi Luca at a little bit of a disadvantage here because he is on cold tires. However, Panda is going to be at a disadvantage in about 15 minutes when we come into those final 2 minutes here. Question is, who's got the heavier fuel load? The grip levels will definitely favor Maxi Luca here. And Azteca holding on to P18 at the moment, so he's dropped down just a little bit here. Grill holding on here. It looks like Sucka 509 having some troubles now at turn 8 in the 34. So the Nissan driver having more troubles here. Let's see if we can find him. Him. He is stationary at the moment. This is not the first time we've seen him this stationary this long. Wait, where is he? And it looks like he's all the way in the barrier, and I think his throttle might have been stuck there, because it looked like he was still accelerating into the wall, possibly. That could have been a wheel issue or pedal issue. I cannot, for the life of me, find him anywhere on this leaderboard, except for where I don't want him to be. Sucka will tow back to pit lane. That could be his race here as we come up on 15 minutes to go. Oh, and Atomic Hippo goes wide, failing to brake for turn 13, just behind the race leader. Coming into chat here if you're watching live. Who is going to take the win here? Is it going to be Maxi Luca, Bubbling Panda, or someone else? Sucka 509, who was a early contender, now practically out of this race. Meanwhile, Senna 509 in the 12 Porsche holding on to 13th here. Sucka now stationary here. You can see him in pit lane. That's a good call out by Pale Batman in chat. Pickin' Joe Mama is holding on in P3 at the moment. That is one of his best positions here we've ever seen from him. And looks like right now the poll favoring Maxi Luca with only one vote in the entire poll so far. So we'll see if that holds on. Pickin' Joe Mama, though, holding on to third by just over 4 seconds now, ahead of Snakebite. You can see Kickin' Joe Mama has had some contact here. There's a lot of scuff marks all over that Mercedes here tonight. It's Finley, who was inside the top 3, now finds himself in 5th in that number 6 McLaren, about 5.5 seconds behind Snakebite, and just over 7 seconds, make that 7.5 seconds now, ahead of Cool Whip. Natural, who was towards the rear of the grid a while ago, now finds himself almost inside the top 10 here in 12th, in that 188 McLaren, and he's got about 6.5 seconds to Senna at the moment behind, and look at this. Oil Slick has moved up to P14 finally, so he has clawed his way back through after the early incident. Still a lot of ground to make up, though, for him. Sensei Tiga holding on to P8 in that 323 McLaren. Got about 4 seconds to Bogey-Eyed Flea ahead of him, with Biligrill in tow, just shy of 2 seconds behind, with FHM J-Dog right there behind him as well. Red Baron now scored in P19, holding on to that position fairly well. Matty Ice in the 92, now back in 15th here. And Bubblin' Panda still holding on to P2. That gap, though, to Maxi Luca has grown quite a bit. And it is now just shy of 9 seconds. Oh, I think that actually looks like it just updated here, just shy of 8 seconds there. We have a split poll at the moment in chat, a 50-50 chance for Maxi Luca taking the win, and someone unnamed here. 2 primaries were Panda and Maxi Luca, and they voted for others, so see who actually wins this one. The question is, will it be Nick and Joe Mama? Taking a look at our circuit here, our leader is heading into turn number 8 as we speak, with just over 10.5 minutes still to go. Yeah, continuing to grow for Maxi Luca to Panda, back almost to 9 seconds here, just over 8.5 and growing. Panda in the 71, just coming into turn 12 as Maxi Luca exits turn 13. '65 Porsche continuing to dominate here. He has led every lap of this 45-minute race so far. Panda with a 136.635 for his last lap, and Maxi Luca sets his fastest lap of the night, a 135.817 on his last lap. Still not the fastest lap of the race yet for him. Polls come to an end here. Maxi Luca and others splitting the poll results, so we'll see if Maxi Luca holds on, but Kickin' Joe Mama trying to close ground here to Bubblin' Panda. As he comes into turn 1, Panda is going through turn 6, so a little bit of a gap between the two of them. And it's Finley in P5, now 12 seconds behind Kickin' Joe Mama. Snakebite, 3.5 seconds in P4. And Sucka 509 has come back out in the 34 Nissan. He's back on circuit, scored in 20th. Fortunately, he is running out of time. Don't know that we're going to see him really make up any positions here with just over 8.5 minutes to go. FHM J-Dog in the 85 Mercedes holding on to P10 at the moment. See the 34 of Sucka in the background getting a little squirrely there. J-Dog trying to close the gap to Sensei Tiga and Violet Grill. And P9 and 8 just ahead, 1.5 seconds to Sensei and 1.8 seconds to Violet Grill. We are coming up to the final 5 minutes here before too much longer. About 2.5 minutes away. And it looks like Kickin' Joe Mama has dropped a little bit of pace compared to the previous lap as he comes into turn 1. Bubblin' Panda was already heading into turn 7. That Gap between Maxi Luca and Bubble and Panda now over 9.5 seconds. So Maxi Luca still pushing that 65 Porsche as he now gets double digits ahead of Panda at 10 seconds. We've only got about 10 cars currently on the lead lap, as the next car ahead of Maxi Luca is the 11th place Coma Copa. And it's still about 18.5 seconds ahead. Not sure if we're going to see Maxi Luca put him a lap down or not. As long as Coma Copa stays clean and can remain consistent, we should see him stay on the lead lap. And Maxi Luca has officially taken over fast lap of the race, a 1:35.570 now. It was also his last lap time, so Maxi Luca still pushing that Porsche to its absolute limits here. Just over 6 minutes still left. Let's see if we can find Panda here real quick. Panda now 10.5 seconds behind Maxi Luca. Both Maxi Luca and Panda pretty much have open track ahead of them until lap traffic. And Maxi Luca will definitely find it well before Panda at this rate. Azteca has dropped to P17, so manages to get one position back after dropping to 18th, his lowest of the race so far. A little bit of a bad line coming out of turn 6 there. It's like carrying a little bit too much momentum. Meanwhile, a battle for P8 still goes on here. Grill, FHM, J-Dog, and Sensei Tiga, all within 1.2 seconds of each other here for 8th, 9th, and 10th. Unfortunately, I don't have a way to force the helicam. The automated system kind of dictates which camera it gives us. So I can kind of go through these, but that's about all I've got. So the heli camera is not an option for the live spectator. It is for replay, though. It will occasionally, for trackside rotation, switch to the heli camera, but the automated system in Assetto Corsa seems a bit more lackluster with it than, say, like F1 did. Yeah, the in-car cameras can be a bit interesting. They're a little tricky to get right, but you have to time it. But yeah, they can be really good here. We'll see if we can find Sensei. Or, and this is probably the best onboard camera we'll get for view-wise for spectating. This can also be a good one, but it can vary from car to car. We now have 3 minutes to go here. Yeah, unfortunately, each game's a little bit different as far as what camera angles and views will really allow you to have. And Assetto Corsa's console version leaves a lot to be desired, if I'm frank. PC version, which is a bit more user and mod friendly, is a lot different. The other one that's probably the creme of the crop, in my opinion, is the iRacing's camera system. They are on top of their game there. So just under 2.5 minutes still to go here in Indianapolis, as we are getting ready to close out round 2. Look at this. Snakebite has started to close the gap on Kickin' Joe Mama. Kickin' Joe Mama at risk of potentially getting kicked off the podium now. Gap 0.2 seconds, so 2/10 separating, and he's got the slipstream. So Snakebite tries to look inside, but does not make a move. Not enough momentum there. Maybe a little too much curb there. We're going to have to watch this one. The gap from first to second is almost the entire length of the front straight from turn 15 to turn 1. And Joe Mama's starting to open that gap a little bit again, now at half a second. It's like the Ferrari a little bit more nimble and agile through these tighter corners, though. The Mercedes with a little bit more top end. Oh, and Kickin' Joe Mama may have gotten a little too much of that grass and lost some momentum there. And almost lapping a second faster than Kickin' Joe Mama, a 137.482 for Snakebite. Oh, and they both go through the grass at turn 1. And Snakebite is going to get back on track a little bit more properly, if you will. Just ahead of Senna, Kickin' Joe Mama goes all the way through. And I think he thought he was driving a rally car there for a second. Gap now 1.5 seconds. And the big question is there any sort of penalty in store for Kickin' Joe Mama for that? There's no contact between either of them. Like they both just failed to brake early enough for that, missing the braking point and going too deep into the corner. Gap back down to 1 second as Maxi Luca has crossed the line to take the white flag. The timer now at 14 seconds as he does so. At 1 second now between third and fourth. They will still have to go one more circuit as the timer officially reaches 0. Snakebite goes a little too deep into 13 and loses half a second of momentum and maybe a little too far to the inside at turn 14 and touches grass there on the inside corner. And the gap between Maxi Luca and Bubble and Panda now 14.5 seconds. We've got a car stopped on the front. That is the 69. Snakebite, as I think he thought that was the end of the race. So he is going to lose out on fourth and drop to fifth as a result. And now cuts through the grass here and doesn't seem to really be letting up. Trying to make up the gap to It's Finley now. And Maxi Luca, your race leader, exits turn 14, comes up to the final corner here for the final time tonight onto the front straight. And Maxi Luca in round 2 will dominate from qualifying and lead every single lap of the race. And Bubble and Panda in the 71 Mustang will come across the line for second. Meanwhile, in third place, we've got Kickin' Joe Mama coming up to turn 13, as he will hold on with a 14.5 second gap to It's Finley here after the mistake by Snakebite at the end of the last lap. And across the line comes Kickin' Joe Mama for third place. It's Finley now coming through turn 15 as we speak. Snakebite at 3.5 seconds behind. It's Finley will round out fourth. Meanwhile, Snakebite will round out your top 5. And that's going to do it here for Indianapolis. The official results here post-race coming up in just a few moments as the drivers finish their laps here. Bogey-eyed Flea finish out in P6. Bila Grill heads to the line, holding on to P7, and looks like dropping to P8 here as FHM J-Dog will take over P7. Sensei Tiga finds his way into the top 9 here. Homacopa in P10, Cool Whip in P11, Natural in 12th. We have everybody across the line. We have a late retirement. Only 19 are scored crossing the line here. There we go. Just like that, this one is in the books. In a dominating performance by Maxi Luca, leading all 28 laps for the full 45 minutes. Bubbling Panda comes back to P2. Oil Slick manages to climb his way back to P13 after his lap 1 incident. And CCW Aviator will finish 23 laps down in 21st. And 5 laps down in 20th is Sucka 509. And just like that, round 2 all wrapped up here. Indianapolis in the books. Next week, we are back with round number 3. And let me pull up the schedule here because I don't recall where the heck we are next week. I was not prepared. But next week, we head for round number 3, the Hungarian Ring. So that's going to be an interesting one. We have seen that one a lot here on the channel with the F1 leagues. Now we get to see it with the GT cars. A very challenging circuit for these cars indeed. With that, thank you for joining me as always here with Torque Racing. And Link, thank you again for resubbing to the channel. Not already a follower of the channel, make sure to hit that follow button. The replay will be uploaded to YouTube tonight into tomorrow. And don't already follow me on socials, make sure you do on all major platforms. With that, have yourselves a great rest of your evening. I will see you next Tuesday for round 3 from the Hungarian Ring. Stay safe, everyone.